idealist. This is the second way of looking the revelation. What does this view suggest? This is also known as the spiritualist view. Spiritualist view. They interpret books as presenting timeless spiritual principles which govern the experience of the church throughout history. All right, there are spiritual principles. Prophecies are not to be taken as predictive. This is not talking about the end of the world, of any specific historical event, individual, whether past, present, and the future. They say it's not even talking about the first century, the Neroic persecution, right? It's not talking about first century persecution at all, or it's not talking about anything that will happen in the history. It is simply there are spiritual things to learn. Symbolic language employed simply portrays continuing struggle between good and evil, between the church and the world, and assures readers the kingdom of God prevail in the end. Right? So this is a kind of most of the millennialist think that way. There is no millennial kingdom. Church is the kingdom, spiritual kingdom, and this is spiritual in nature. There are spiritual principles. That is the main thing. It's a struggle between church and the world, and the church at the end, church will prevail. From this perspective, series of judgments, the book depict God's judging sinners down through the ages. The beast refers to all pagan empires. Look at that one. Beast refers to all pagan empires and rulers throughout history. And millennium is not a future event, but a description of the church age in its entirety. So the millennium is the church. This view is reflected in Augustine's City of God, and it's popular among all millennialists. Hendrickson, who came a house and kissed maker, they all believe this theory, idealist view. There is not talking about anything historical things, rather represents throughout the history, the struggle between church and the world. Response? In terms of its strength, this view correctly sees cosmic dimensions of the conflict depicted in the book and takes seriously symbolism used by the author. Yeah, they try to come up that tension between struggle between church and the world is taken really well. And in addition, it recognized the importance of applying truths recorded in the text. Succeeding generation of readers, not historical, but anyone can apply all the things that is recorded in this book. So it's not a predictive prophecy again. Predictive prophecy. It's not predictive prophecy. However, problem with this view, by divorcing the prophecy from its historical context, this approach jeopardizes any objective basis for interpretation and renders its own conclusions suspect. Yes, what it does, it jeopardizes any objective basis for interpretation. But if it is simply only spiritual matters, like it is not talking about anything that is happening in the world in reality, then there is a real issue. Furthermore, it too represents a denial of the true prophetic character of revelation. In a sense, they're saying this is not a prophetical book. But if you look at, John just explains the opposite. John identifies his writing as a prophecy. John told, we will see that as we go through, and describes what appeared to be future events involving literal individuals engaged in actual and real activities. right? So he's saying, John is saying this is prophecy. And therefore, ultimately, this approach is incompatible with the historical grammatical method of interpretation. If that is the interpretation we follow, then this is wrong. So we looked at the first one as preterist view, right? Preterist view. Then we looked at idealist view, spiritual, not anything historical.